Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Mental Health Awakening, and me and Angela are joined by Melanie, and today's topic is breaking free, and it's going to be a really nice conversation. So Angela, over to you.
I'm still Angela Jackson, the face of the Jackson Impact. I'm a licensed professional counselor with national certification in the state of Tennessee, the USA, partnering with the UK. So glad to be here and excited that we have the guest that we have today. Longtime friend, I'm excited.
Yeah, so all right. Melanie, if you do your little introduction for us.
Okay. My name is Melanie Clay. I'm located in Lexington, Kentucky, and I'm in the process of embarking on a lot of different journeys in my life after breaking free from so many different obstacles, and I'm excited.
Welcome. So this topic, breaking free, it just has a ring to it, and focusing on mental health awakening, whether it be from a perspective of education, motivation, just support overall. I already know, I know you, but we want to hear a little bit more about breaking free from your perspective and your experience. What is it that you want to share today with the viewers and the listeners?
Okay. I have so many different stories. I grew up a pastor's daughter, I guess you call them PKs. Grew up in that all of my life until I got old enough, went out on my own and became a pastor's wife. And in the process of that, went through a lot of abuse, mental, physical, emotional abuse. And it kind of left me in a bondage to where I thought that I would always be nobody. I couldn't be the person who God had really called me, is calling me to be, because of so many different things that I had experienced, being a pastor's wife and being a PK. Growing up being a PK, people expect so many certain things out of you. They expect you to, because your father's a pastor, you have to live a certain lifestyle, you have to live a certain way. And that sometimes can affect you emotionally. And I don't know what's wrong, but like I said, I went on to become a pastor's wife, and the man that I was married to abused me physically, first of all, which kind of left me in a place where he would always tell me that I would be nothing, nobody would want me, but here I am, your wife, I'm part of what they see because I'm your wife and you're the pastor. And I kind of slipped into bondage to where I started to believe in what he was saying. I started to believe in that I couldn't, I would never be nothing. And I got used to the physical abuse, and I got used to the emotional abuse, and him saying these things, making me feel like I would never be nothing. But I had children, natural children that, I had to be concerned about. And then now being a pastor's wife, I had spiritual children, and so I had to go and live this life kind of like in a facade with a mask, not wanting people to know exactly what I was experiencing, exactly what was going on, because first of all, you think, oh, it's embarrassing, you think if he thinks it's a way about you, they're gonna think the same way about you, so trying to keep it quiet. And then when you get in front of people, you want them to see you in a certain way, and that kind of got old, it kind of got old. Then the main thing was my children, seeing what was going on at home and seeing what I was having to deal with. And I started to think about my oldest child, which is now 27 years old, how it would affect her, how it would affect my children. I didn't want her and then my children to grow up thinking that this is the way life is supposed to be. So I began to just kind of search within myself. Now, how can I get out of this? How can I break free of this bondage? I know that there's more for me. I know that God has more for me. And I know there's people out there that's needing me to hear my voice. So how do I get out of this? So I began to really basically pray, and then doors started opening to where I started to want to talk about it. Hey, let's talk about it. It's one thing that you don't want to do when you're going through. A lot of people don't want to talk about it. They don't want people to know what they're dealing with. But to talk about it, and talking about it and releasing that is, I think, one of the biggest steps that you can do, because we have to remember that we're not going through this on ourselves. So talking about it and taking this step to releasing, and I was careful about who I talked about it to, first of all, but it was a release for me to kind of like open up and to begin to see, and I began to realize that this is not me. This is not where I want to be. This is not, the lifestyle I want to live. So I took the steps to break free, breaking free, and went through counseling. Still kind of going through counseling right now, because it's a journey. But it has been so helpful, so beneficial. And just, I've helped a lot of people just in that part, going through the counseling and being able to talk about it and express, express what I went through, and express, now it feels so much better. It's like you're in a closed room, a closed door, and it's dark, and nobody knows that you're in this room but you. And you're wondering how, you're looking from side to side, you're looking around, and all you see is darkness. But finally one day a door opens, you see a light shine, you open up the windows and the light shines through, and it feels so much better to break free of the bondage and the things, whether it's emotional, physical, whatever type of bondage that you're going through. It feels so much better to see that light shine and know that there is better, So breaking free, and I'm breaking free, and I'm in the process now, still currently breaking free, and I'm so excited about it. So excited.
Yeah, I agree, because especially what you say about trust, because it's hard to trust people in general, isn't it? Like,
It is.
I think as you get older, you kind of know that, like it's difficult. Like, you maybe don't want to tell everyone your business.
Right.
Yeah.
But if it's something like what you're saying, it's that serious, it's, I have to speak about it. Like you say, it's important to speak about these things to help other people, to try follow your path in a way to speak about if they have that really bad experience. So yeah, it is hard, because in life everyone talks about each other, don't they? Like, but people talk behind your back, but people don't. Like, so, and even some of the people that you think may not do that, but you just don't know. That's life, isn't it? Like, that's, I'm afraid, it's annoying though. It's annoying in that way, because you'd love no one to talk about you behind your back, wouldn't you? It'd be an ideal world, but yeah, I think trust in people it takes time, doesn't it? For you to get to know that person. Get to know that person.
Definitely.
And everything.
Yeah. It takes time to build
Melanie,
that trust.
you're right. Melanie, you said you're speaking volumes, because this is a topic where a lot of people do suffer in silence. When it comes to domestic violence, it's hard, as Mason said, it's hard to trust people. It's hard to share without receiving judgment, without receiving suggestions or advice that are potentially meaningless to your situation. It's always a difficult position to be in. And as a mental health professional, we're always taught to be very careful and delicate and sensitive when working with domestic violence victims, because at the point of leaving, at the point of breaking free, whether literally or figuratively, it's dangerous for that victim, it's dangerous for that person. And it's also, it's sad because there's not enough resources for
Right.
situations like that. If you call the police department, the sheriff's department, sometimes they will transfer you because they deem the number that you called as not an emergent number, or either this is not an emergent situation. They transfer you somewhere else. And I've been in a position to where I've gotten the answer machine, or they will tell me the answer machine is not set up. So, and even resources as far as shelters or place to go, or figuring out what social supports are available. So it's a difficult situation, even outside, but from the inside of your situation, the abuse, the self-doubt, the self-esteem, all of the verbal abuse, the emotional abuse, all of that is taking a hit at you as a person, right? So the ability to come through and show up as an overcomer and breaking free, that's huge. So I appreciate you being able to share your story. And you said that through all of the things that you went through, even on the upside of things and the coming out, you learned certain tips. So what are those tips that you would share with other ladies or other men, to be honest?
Well, like we were talking about, kind of building a trust. First of all, you have to find someone that you can trust to be able to open up. And because like you said, when you're going through the situation, reaching out to the police or, those type of things don't always really work. They're not really, you don't really get the help that you need. So having that person there or someone there that you can build a trust in, that is willing, to be by your side and understanding, what you're going through, and they're also offering different options. And having somebody by your side is just the biggest thing, because going through it, you already feel like you're alone. And then you're here. I used to hear from people all the time, where it's your fault, you stayed in it. Because I left. I caught myself leaving several times, but would end up going back because sometimes I tell myself that the best thing for me to do was to stay in it, or the best thing for, the kids, like when you look at it financially or whatever, been and make it, is to stay there. But having someone by your side, which I did have a good friend who several times was able to come and pick me up and take me away from the situation. Although I went back, because I felt, going through it, I felt this was the best thing for me to do is to go back and, it'll get better, or I'll get out, and sometimes, it's just not that easy. So finding somebody that you can really depend on and build a trust in, to me, is one of the biggest things. And then opening up and talking about it. Don't hold it within. Don't keep it, what you're dealing with. Don't keep it to yourself, because that in turn will affect you internally. It becomes more of a mental thing when you begin to hold things inside and don't tell anybody what you're going through. Then now you're internalizing it and you're keeping it to yourself. So that can make it even worse. But finding someone to talk to and open up and release it, and try to get all the resources that you can to break free, of what you're dealing with. If it's a family member, like I said, I went through counseling. Sometimes you may not feel like that you can trust family. You may not feel like you can trust a friend. There's counseling. You can go to counseling, and sometimes in doing counseling, they have different resources that they can help you to break out. I stayed in it till I got to the point where I just couldn't deal with it anymore. And I, at that point, looked within myself. Okay, I got to do what I got to do to save myself and my kids. I'm tired of going through this. So, like I said, counseling, reaching out, and at this point, I started opening up to my family members and telling my family members what I was going through. And sometimes telling the family members, getting them involved helps. Although we might not think, but it helps. It helps to involve people that you can trust into what you're dealing with, because you can come up with different resources to help to release you. Yeah.
Melanie, you talked about being married to a pastor, you were a pastor's wife and experiencing this, that may or may not be a shocker to a lot of people. What type of responses did you receive? Did it seem like it was unique, unheard of? Were people shocked?
Well, actually going through it, I didn't tell anybody. Nobody knew exactly what I was going through. But the person that I was married to, people that knew him previously, kind of knew his previous story. So when it started coming out, when I started releasing, it was kind of assuring, because a lot of people were like, oh, we already knew that about him. We already knew that. So then now, and just talking to somebody recently, and this person I was talking to was saying, well, ministers, police officers, people that's in high places like that are kind of like the top people for abuse. It's kind of like a normal thing. Although we feel like it might be normal, it might not be normal because, hey, this is a pastor. Nobody's gonna be expecting a pastor to be abusive. Nobody's gonna be expecting a pastor to be carrying himself this way. But it is more popular than I thought. It's not as bad as I thought. I'm thinking, like I said, nobody's gonna expect him to be this way. But once I started telling my story and open up, and even just here, like I said, recently, just this week, I was talking to someone and I was enlightened with the fact of this is not uncommon,
right?
So it is more popular than I thought it was. Yeah.
I think it's good, like, that you do talk about it and that you're talking about to different people as well, because this stuff does happen quite a lot, and it does need to stop. It does, because it's not nice, because everyone's different. So like you said, that you kind of hid it for a while, which is understandable, because like probably from partner or for forcing you saying stuff, or if stuff's happening like that. But it is hard, isn't it? Because it does affect your mental health. It probably makes you feel really down and down and out. Like if I say something to someone, it may get worse.
Yeah.
So
That's right.
I think that's at the top of your mind, isn't it? Like if I go tell a friend, and then that friend tells another person, and that friend tells another person, the word will get out and he'll know, and then we'll be back to square one where stuff will carry on. So it is. I like that we're talking about this, because like I think it can happen to anyone at any age as well. So that's important, isn't it? Because like it's not a certain age limit. It can happen to anyone. And it's something that does need to be spoken about more, and more podcasts even to talk about this in general.
Yeah.
Melanie, were there any warning signs? Or do you feel like there were? A lot of people say red flags now. I like to say, did that inner alarm go off early in the relationship, or do you feel like it was just a quick progression as far as the abuse?
There were red flags. There were some alarms early. And when kind of like going through it, when I would see those red flags, he would try to apologize or cover it up to make it, it was just a mistake, but then once it got to be too many mistakes, I was more sure, okay, this is what I'm dealing with. By this time, I'm kind of like deep into it. So yeah, there were a lot of red flags, and sometimes we don't pay attention to the red flags, which is another thing, But yes, there were lots of red flags, and I kept them to myself, thinking that I can handle this, thinking I can deal with this on my own. It'll change. It'll get better. It'll get better. It'll go away. And then he would come back and sweet talk and smooth it over, making it look like, it was just a mistake, and he would do that often. But yes, there were lots of red flags, and I would say pay attention to those red flags, or pay attention to those those signs, or either they said women have intuitions, pay attention, because yes, you'll see those red flags before it kind of really start manifesting itself, so there will always be, I think, red flags. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that, oh goodness, external stressors, things that we go through physically, it takes a toll on us internally, whether that's mental health, whether that's physical health. And, the way that you're describing holding it in, holding on to it, internalizing it, our physical bodies take that hit as well, the stress, the tension, the nervousness, anxiety, the fear, that we call it hypervigilance, but that, almost feeling like, oh, something's coming, or you're jumpy. So there's physical features that come along with trauma as a whole. You might have flashbacks of situations where it might have been, traumatic overall, isolation, withdrawal. You don't want anybody to know. You may even potentially feel like there's something that you always have to hide. You've got to be on guard, and that it definitely impacts your mental health and your physical health overall. The way you view yourself, and also the way you feel physically.
Yes, and I'm still now today experiencing. Although I've been out. It's been 5 years now, but I've been out. But I'm still now experiencing a lot of issues in my body that stemmed from the abuse and just holding it in. It got to a point at one time mentally, mentally, because I internalized it so much, thinking that people would think it's my fault, because a lot of times he would tell me that it's your fault, but you have to condition yourself that not to believe, because what they're doing is pushing the blame from themselves to you. But I let myself fall into this position to where I started to believe it was my fault. I started to believe the things that he said to me, so emotionally, I got to the point where I would kind of like walk on eggshells to make sure, okay, what is it that I'm doing? Don't do this. Don't go this way. Don't do this. Don't say this, because you don't want, everything gets started. So, and that can affect you also, where you can't just live your life, like you said, looking over your shoulder, wondering, what's going to make him mad today, or how's the day, when you look up in the morning, how's the day going to be, or you never know throughout the day what situation is going to trigger something. So it really takes a toll on you mentally, and emotionally. So you have to really remember that you're not to blame. It's not your fault. What they try to tell you, you have to say, no, it's not my fault. And pull yourself out of it, pull yourself through it, and don't let them cause you to sink into this place where you're just stuck. Because sometimes it's hard to really come out of it.
Because of course, Melanie, you didn't speak out at first. What made you think to speak out? How did that happen? Like that, you decided to speak about what was going on?
Well, actually, I started to get tired, and I started at this point, I started to really experiencing stuff in my health, because I was internalizing it. I had gotten sick, and I had gone to the doctor, and the doctor told me, he said, whatever disease that you're dealing with, it's a stress related situation. You need to get out of it, because it's taking a toll on your body. So that was a big thing. And then my children, I have 3 daughters. I have 2 daughters and a son, and I didn't want my daughters to think that this was the way life is supposed to be. And I started realizing, if they see me going through this, they see me dealing with this, then they'll grow up thinking, this is how it's supposed to be. They'll grow up, seeking out those type of relationships, and I didn't want that for my children, because by that time they had started, they're getting older, they understand a little bit more, about what's going on. And one of my daughters had gotten involved with one time there was a fight, and one of my daughters had gotten involved, and she got hurt in the midst of it. And the way it was handled, let me know, look, no, this can't be. So basically, when I started seeing my children getting involved, and I started seeing how it was affecting my children, I said, this can't be, I have to get out of this. I have to break free of this. And, because I don't want my children, especially I have a son, I don't want him to grow up thinking that this is how you're supposed to treat women. I don't want my daughters thinking that this is how the men are supposed to treat them. So by this point, I was like, okay, enough is enough. So I did what I had to do to get out.
I appreciate you sharing. And, a lot of times as parents, whether intentional or unintentional, our actions are modeled through, for our children.
Yeah.
And yes, it could be where you think you are rearing and guiding and leading them with intention. The things that are unspoken are still an example. So, and that's the first thing we think about is our children and how it's going to affect them, especially our daughters. Are they going to, choose partners that relate to dad? Are they going to choose partners, or are they going to allow certain behaviors and interpret that as the norm, or interpret that as love, or interpret that as just the standard of how a relationship goes? Right. So it can be difficult.
Yeah, it started damaging the relationship with one of my oldest child. It started making her see me in a different light, see me a different way. So it started to affect our relationship as mother and daughter. And I definitely didn't want that. And although now, she's grown up, and, she has a lot of resentment because of some things that she's seen me go through. And she'll say, well, Mom, you should have got out of it, or you shouldn't allow it to go this far. So that takes a toll on you too, hearing this kind of stuff from your child, and going through it the whole time, you thinking you're doing what's best, by staying, because, you look at the situation of leaving, especially when you're depending on a situation financially or whatever, or for security issues, you think you're doing better by staying in it, but it's not. The best thing to do is just break free of it. There is help, do whatever you can to do to seek out help, because there is help. And one thing I don't want is to damage the relationship of me and my children, So that was a big thing for me. That was a big thing.
Okay. Yeah. So out of your friends, out of your counselors or your support system, did anyone ever say to always be ready to escape or to run? Did anybody say always have your backpack or purse packed?
Yes.
Was that something suggested?
Yes, a lot of times. Matter of fact, like I stated earlier, I had friends who came and actually picked me up and took me out of the state to get me away from it. They always, of course, I had friends that was always, like you said, telling me to be prepared, and I would try to be careful of what I would tell them, because I knew, that I knew how they felt about me going through it. So, and then, like I said, I would always end up going back after they would come and get me from it. Really, I would go back, because I was stuck at this point, thinking I was stuck, thinking that this is what I had to go back. I had to be in this. But yes, they always encouraged me, have money saved up, have extra money put to the side, because you never know what was going to be what. And it came in handy, because there were a lot of times I had to pay a lot of hotel fees, because where I end up staying in the hotel for weekends and stuff like that. So having money, put to the side and having stuff packed. Yes, I had a lot of friends. And then when I started getting my family involved, sometimes they would help, but yes, that was a lot of suggestion from a lot of my family and friends to always be prepared. Yeah. Because you never know what situation was going to trigger something. You never know what time of the day, what hour. You never know. Just, they come home from work and they're just had a bad day. So it's your fault that I had a bad day at work. And there was a lot of times I had to be prepared. For it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And had I not been prepared, this situation probably would have been worse, but being prepared, like I did have my own car. So I had been prepared, and having stuff put to the side, it helped a lot. Yes.
Yeah. That's good. That's good. So tell us what you have planned for the future. Listening to your story, that says to me that you are the best person to advocate. You're the best person to show up and to spread awareness because of what you've been through, because of the freedom that you now have, and that you're even working towards greater. So are there things that you can share as far as your future and how or plans to reach others?
Yes, I'm working to become an advocate. I want to be an advocate to speak to other women, letting them know, men, because men go through these situations too. So letting them know you don't have to go through this. And then if you are going through, there's ways to get out, and helping to find out the best scenario, best situations to get out. And then after you get out, to progress, and go on to be healed, get your healing, and become a motivational speaker is what I'm trying to do. And I would like you said earlier, there's not a lot of resources for people that's going through that. And there's something I'm working on to help where there can be more resources, to help to get people out of these situations. And once they get out, they may need places to go, or, they help. There are a lot of children that are involved in this too. So getting resources to help with family situations. And that's something that I'm really working on for the future, and trying to get out. And like I said, be a great advocate, for the better of these situations. So hopefully you'll hear a lot more from me.
Awesome.
Yeah. I look forward to that because it is, like, being a speaker is very fun, I have to say, because you get to speak out about stuff you're passionate about. So because it takes a lot of confidence as well. But once you've got that confidence, once you can speak freely about what you want to speak about, it's a nice feeling, because you may find you have to repeat yourself. So it kind of sinks in sometimes to people's brains, but but yeah, it's fun. I think confidence is a very good thing to have, because I imagine that from what you went through in your story, you needed that confidence to speak out about it and tell other people.
You gotta have that confidence. Yeah.
You got to have confidence. And it's hard to have at first confidence, but the more you think about it, the more, I suppose, you kind of changes, doesn't it? The way you think of things. You think that I'm more focused about me. I think that's what you learn, don't you? You got to take care of yourself, rather than worrying about what someone else is going to do. Of course, we always worry about things, like always stress and stuff, and doesn't help. But it's hard because stress is every day, I'd say, for most people. You're gonna get stressed about something.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. You gotta have that confidence, because if you don't have confidence, you'll just get complacent in the situation, and you'll try to figure out coping mechanisms to just cope with it, just stay in it, and you don't want that. So definitely gotta have that confidence.
Yeah. I didn't have confidence, actually, when I was younger. When I was quite younger. I'd say about 10 years ago, but now, I'm more confident. What about you, Angela? Was you not so confident when you was younger?
Well, you know what? I laugh because that's true. I actually had a conversation with someone earlier, I was more, and I'm still, I presented and showed up more as an introvert, right? So a lot of that affects the way that you show up, even with regard to confidence. Sometimes it's misinterpreted, as a weakness, but that being more observant and just attentive in situations, quiet. But I would say I had to take time to build confidence. And I learned that it's a process. It wasn't just something automatic. It didn't matter if I were encouraged in certain areas, if I had received, ill treatment or maybe abuse from childhood, that childhood trauma would show up. If there was a struggle in a relationship, intimate relationship, that would affect my confidence. It would add to the self-doubt. And it took some time to actually transition, rebuild, adjust, and figure out who Angela is, right? I could have said was, but who Angela is. And, and the more I grew, as far as confidence, as far as that self-evaluation and just, just overall comfort, it changed for me. Mm-hmm. So it had to come to a point to where I said, will the real Angela please stand up?
Right.
I stopped worrying about what people would say about me. Like you mentioned before, Mason, sometimes people will look at what's on the surface or look at a situation and place judgment there. So I had to get past some of the situations and circumstance to help build that confidence, do things that would add to me as opposed to kind of pull me back into those places where I may have been stuck, may have been abused. Definitely had to build the confidence.
And like you said, it's a process, because even me, I'm still, it takes time and getting yourself out there and doing the things that make you afraid, kind of repeating them, doing it over and to get yourself out there and to build that confidence is what is a must, because like I said, it's the process, so you have to continue that healing, and it's part of your healing to, asking yourself, do you want to stay here? Do you want to progress? Whatever. So it is a process. It takes time.
Yes, it is. Yeah. Full-blown journey.
Right.
It's a journey. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Confidence is very important because not everyone, like you say, it's a journey. Everyone's different. Like us three here, one of us might be more confident than someone else. So.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it goes with anxiety a little bit as well, doesn't it? Like they kind of link in between the two, because I think we wouldn't be here today though if we didn't build our confidence. So
that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So
that's and there's that level of resiliency. A lot of times when people talk about being resilient, it's like, oh, you're so strong, you're showing up, you're present. But to be resilient means that you had to come through a struggle. You had to fight your way to the front.
That's right.
You had to overcome. You had to endure. So I jump on the bandwagon sometimes, like, man, that person is so resilient. And then I have to stop and think about, the distress, if the person had been mistreated, or what type of bondage has taken place that caused them to press forward as hard as they have, and build up that confidence. So when you build something, it takes strength. You have to work it out. Like you said, Melanie, it takes practice. It takes continual work, but you just keep working that muscle.
Keep working at it.
Keep building it up.
That's right. Building that confidence. You have to keep working at it. That's why I said those things that you think that you can't do, that you think you can't overcome, you have to continue to work in those areas, especially in those things that you think that where your weakness is, like you said, building that muscle, building it to keep it and keep going. You can't let it you can't let your anxiety or your insecurities make you stop, you know, because just because you're weak in that area now, tomorrow it's a different story. If you can continue to build that confidence and strength in yourself and believe in yourself that you can do it, you know,
That's
and you
right.
will. You will. You will.
That's right.
Like you said, we
That's
wouldn't be
right.
sitting here today if we didn't. So
Yeah, that's it.
this is the
That's
proof.
right.
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
I think what made me more confident was I think it's like getting diagnosed with Crohn's kind of helped probably get
Yeah.
more confident, because I didn't want people to feel sorry for me, but because I feel sorry for me, I think, because I didn't know anyone, did I, at the start, but as I said, I think like I like you, it's going back to that self-care, isn't it? Like I think if you you focus on yourself more than focus on other people, although it's good to focus on other people, but if you're thinking about other things, not thinking about yourself, and then you think that you kind of, well, in my mindset, like now, if someone said something, I suppose, that offended, I wouldn't, I wouldn't, I would just say, you say your piece and we're like finished. Like I don't like getting into arguments with people. So
Mhm.
I just move on. But sometimes you have to get into arguments. But I try to stay away from that side of things, because it can make you stressed, and we don't like stress, do we?
That's right.
But yeah, because confidence is like I think I told you, Angela, before, but I did do a confidence building program for other people to build their own confidence. So I think it's good, because so they build more confidence when they were my age, rather than me, because it's because we're all here to help people, aren't we, today?
Yes.
So
That's right.
that's what we like doing, and like and speaking about our things, and the more we speak about it, and it goes in more as a hobby, like Angela, like I would have thought that your job is your kind of hobby, isn't it? And
Yeah.
yeah, and Melanie, what she'll be doing, like we've talking about this more, about like your story,
Absolutely.
and
Mhm.
that's like a hobby, like we said before, like advocating for what we're interested in. And I never thought it would be a hobby of mine. I thought like your own story was just something that you would tell someone if they wanted to know about it, but and then you realize there's a community out there where people need to get educated about this kind of stuff. So
Yeah.
and then you do that, and there's still gonna people. There's all how often we talk about our stories, how often we tell other people about our stories. There's always going to be lots of people that don't know about it. So we're not going to stop, are we?
Yeah.
Got to normalize those difficult conversations.
That's
Right.
it.
Right.
That's it.
That's part of a healing process. That's a part of your healing, or because healing is a continual journey. So talking about it, like you said, normalizing it is a big part of, you know, that's why I'm advocating, trying to get involved in a lot of the domestic violence things here in my area where I am, and kind of reaching out to some other young ladies who I know that's dealing with it, or going, like I said, coming out of it, or have questions about, you know, what do I do? Where do I turn? I have nobody to turn to, since it's not so easy to find resources. So just talking and getting involved, you know, has been a big help for me, you know, because now I realize that I'm not the only one that's going through it. I won't ever be the only one. So lending my voice and lending my story is a big help, you know. So I'm talking about it.
It is.
Yeah.
That it is a big help. It's a big help. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Melanie, tell our listeners and viewers how they can make contact with you.
I'm available. I can email melpclay at gmail.com, or I'm on social media, Beautifully Me on Instagram, and Melanie Clay on Facebook.
All right.
Lovely. Melanie, I just want to ask, like, how is your mental health at the moment? Like now, would you say?
Um, a lot better. Like I said, I've been going through counseling myself, and I'm kind of like at the end of my counseling sessions. A lot better. Like I said, if I didn't have the confidence today, I would be sitting here, because there was one point doing my transitioning out of, I was like, I'm not a person to be in front of people. I'm not a person to tell my story, So I'm really breaking free of the insecurities that I have, which come from what I've gone through. So my mental health is a lot better, and I'm looking for ways now to get out, and get involved. Whereas one point I wouldn't, So I think I'm doing a lot better. Like I said, I'm at the end of going through counseling for a while, and I see great progress, and I'm really proud of myself. Really proud and happy.
Okay. I'm glad you're doing better now.
Yes.
Yeah. Before we finish, I think because we've had a really nice talk today about breaking
Yes.
free, and yeah, like we said before, it's not talked about enough. But ladies, is there any last words that you want to say before we finish up? Shall we start with you, Angela? Have you got any last words?
I'm captivated. I'm so excited. I appreciate this conversation. Definitely needed. And I'm sure we will be seeing more of Melanie Clay. She will be speaking soon. She will be doing a workshop at a conference in Nashville, Tennessee during Mental Health Awareness Month. It still is an awakening to share during those times, because again, domestic violence does impact your mental health. So we're looking to hear more from her in the near future.
Yes. I'm excited. And I thank you guys for this opportunity, to begin to get my story out there. And this is helping to build my confidence, and it's just helping me on my journey. And I really, really appreciate you guys for this, and be able to talk about it. And just even sitting here talking about it, I got so much that's running through my mind that I can do and that I can say, so I'm really appreciative of this, and I'm looking forward to more opportunities and more doors opening, so that I can get my story out there, and so I can be a help and an encouragement to someone else that's in it, coming out of it, and let them know that you're not alone. You're not alone. So I really do appreciate this.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing with us today, because it's been a really good conversation, very interesting as well. So thank you for everyone who's been listening today or watching, and we'll see you next time in Mental Health Awakening. So thank you guys for a lovely conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.